When I graduated as a doctor in 2005, it was one of the happiest days of my life, closely matched by the day I received my acceptance letter into medical school. Fast forward to 2021, and I wanted my name off the professional register as fast as possible. To my delight, it was finally removed in 2024, even though it came with a $160,000 price tag. My husband Mark quit medicine in 2016, and he was quietly disappeared from the register in 2022 after an abandoned, quote, investigation by the medical cartel of New Zealand. Now, we are both at large. The establishment trained us in the dark craft of allopathy, but like Jason Bourne, we woke up to the killing fields we were in and now expose it for others to see. As the medical system faces its inevitable decline, I'll list our top 10 reasons for being a struck-off doctor. Here was the medicine. The patients died, and nobody asked who convalesced. So we ravaged with hellish medicine, worse than the pestilence in these valleys, these mountains. I myself administered the poison to thousands. They withered. I had to witness that the brazen murderers were praised. Faust, by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. On the 16th of October 2025, we met with Drs. Tom Cowan and Andrew Kaufman for the first time in person. We were all speakers at the 2025 Wise Traditions Conference in Salt Lake City, and the four of us headed out to a nearby restaurant. The waiter said we looked like a happy group, and Mark responded, "Well, we're all struck-off doctors." The incredulous waiter was lost for words as he was met with four warm and knowing smiles. Now, while it may be believed that doctors only get struck off for malpractice or harm to patients, that is far from the truth. The medical mafia also get rid of whistleblower doctors and those that simply question the establishment narratives. For example, speaking out against the COVID fraud was strictly forbidden. I believe it resulted in me being prosecuted for, quote, bringing disrepute to the profession. Well, if that's what I was doing, it's my duty to continue doing more of it. We live in a time when the facade of a beneficial medico-pharmaceutical industry continues to crumble down. The spotlight is also on the medical regulators who control the workforce and dictate who has a license. It's become a disgraceful empire. So here are our top 10 reasons for being a struck-off doctor. Number 1, no more drug dealing. When you have a medical license, there is a sense of power that comes with prescribing rights. There are hundreds of drugs at your fingertips, and with the scribble of a pen, you can hand out any that you like. Some of them have huge street value and are highly toxic, yet there is no real danger for doctors who dish them out like sweets. One of the things I hated as a doctor was knowing that a patient was addicted to medication, usually one that had been started by another doctor. There were two choices: give them what they want to end the consult quickly and easily, or confront them about their problem and endure a typically unpleasant encounter. I think you can guess which many doctors prefer. It is no different from any drug cartel, with the members being the major beneficiaries of products causing societal destruction. Number 2, no more drug taking. As well as not dealing drugs any longer, struck-off doctors are well positioned to quit the habit themselves. When my medical license expired in 2021, it was the first time in 2 decades that nobody in our household could access the pharmacy buffet. For a brief moment, I thought that I might regret not being able to stock up the bathroom cabinet, but then quickly realised that nobody in our family needed any medications. In fact, the loss of prescribing rights coincided with our family ceasing to use any pharmaceuticals, including paracetamol or Tylenol. Now even Donald Trump is warning us about Tylenol, although you can watch my video, Trump's Tylenol Twist, to find out what's really going on here. In any case, it is not a good idea to be, quote, kind and give such a drug to reduce discomfort or fever. If you are unsure why, then please watch my video, The Truth About Fever, because even over-the-counter medications can lead to serious health problems. Number 3, no more filling out forms. Doctors are a select group of professionals that can fill out various forms to provide, quote, benefits for the recipient. Like drug dealing, this can be awkward because the patient is often trying to manipulate the practitioner into certain outcomes. Typically, this involves some kind of financial compensation for not being in employment. But here's a trade secret. Doctors have almost nothing at their disposal to assess whether someone can work or not. My husband Mark had multiple qualifications related to pain management, and yet was none the wiser. So one day he asked the most seasoned doctor in Reach how to make the call. The old sage nodded slowly and said, "Mark, forget about examinations and investigations, because there is only one thing you can do. Ask the patient whether they can work or not, and then write down yes or no." So in this state of affairs, why not just get rid of the doctor altogether? Number 4, replacing, quote, treatments with cures. Mark and I never heard the term allopathic medicine when we worked in the system. We just thought it was conventional medicine. In our book, The Final Pandemic, we explained that the word allopathy had become a problem for the establishment and noted how the Merriam-Webster dictionary changed its definition in the middle of the COVID-19 event. May 2022. A system of medical practice that aims to combat disease by use of remedies, as drugs or surgery, producing effects different from or incompatible with those produced by the disease being treated. November 2022. A system of medical practice that emphasises diagnosing and treating disease and the use of conventional, evidence-based therapeutic measures, such as drugs or surgery. The old definition is the correct one. Allopathic medicine has a theme of being at war with disease, and its interventions are largely based on suppression of symptoms through drugs, radiation, and surgery. Getting out of the system allowed me to move into a better paradigm that aims for perfect health through an understanding of how nature really works. We cover how to be naturally well in our publications, particularly in our Q&A sessions and the book Terrain Therapy. Number 5, no more tests. Doctors are trained to request all sorts of investigations, including blood tests, urine tests, X-rays, and CT scans. In addition to the diagnostic workups, they also encourage patients to present for various screening tests. There are several reasons for this. One is the practice of defensive medicine, where the doctor is essentially covering their butt against complaints or an investigation. Never mind that the ticking of boxes does nothing to actually help the patient. The second major reason is that the allopathic model holds that the various tests are diagnostic tools that allow a specific disease to be identified. However, this is often not the case. For example, the COVID-19 fraud was based on creating meaningless case numbers through PCR and rapid antigen tests that were disconnected from the health status of the patient. While there are some valid investigations, the vast majority of tests simply indicate the body's response to a problem rather than a specific disease. Doctors that move out of the allopathic paradigm stop looking at most tests and start paying attention to the patient's story. That is where we can address what has gone wrong rather than inappropriately treat a test result. Number 6, being able to give health advice freely. Did you notice that during the COVID-19 era, politicians, taxi drivers, hairdressers, radio DJs, and even road signs could all weigh in with their opinions about the alleged pandemic? They could talk about what they were doing, what they thought about the lockdowns, and of course could freely recommend that others should get a safe and effective drop shot.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines.
Most of them were completely clueless as they parroted information from the corporate media and had no ability or inclination to read any scientific material. On the other hand, fully trained doctors who spent months researching these fields were warned to keep quiet if they identified inconsistencies in the approved narrative. In 2020, I was a clinical trials research physician and advised the public that I would not be getting any, quote, coronavirus vaccine if and when it came out. The regulators put it to me that I should sign a gag order while they tried to work out how to handle me. Unfortunately, most doctors give in at that point. So ironically, when it comes to medical matters, they have less freedom of speech than a hospital janitor. In case there was any doubt, I didn't sign the gag order. Hundreds of videos, articles, and books later, and I'm just getting warmed up. 7. Having street cred. Mark and I do not offer consultation services, but almost every day we get asked for advice relating to medical and health matters. One of Mark's favourite responses is to say, "You do realise that we've both been struck off?" Not once do we receive even a raised eyebrow. In fact, usually it is the complete opposite, and the person says, "That is why I know you will speak openly." When I was a medical student, I was told that Dr. Andrew Wakefield was a discredited crank who was struck off for lying about vaccines. In 2020, it was suggested to me that I would be, quote, Wakefielded for my stance. At that point, I looked into the Wakefield affair for myself and appreciated that the establishment was terrified of any doctors who criticised vaccines. On the other hand, the public are all ears when they know a doctor has sacrificed their ticket and a guaranteed lucrative income by speaking out. Number 8. No fear of being replaced by AI. In 2017, I started a company called SwiftMed, which was New Zealand's first nationwide online medical consultation service. The service received almost exclusive 5-star ratings, and I won a major business award. Although my goal was to help people access health services more readily, I subsequently realised the platform mostly allowed patients to access the medico-pharmaceutical system more readily. In essence, many people were seeking an easier way to obtain prescriptions for drugs. Furthermore, it was apparent that the doctors involved in such platforms could eventually be replaced by computer algorithms because the medical regulators were advancing protocol-driven services under euphemisms such as best practice. As it was, in the last week of 2019, I shut down the service permanently. Then, in the first part of 2020, I started speaking out about the COVID-19 fraud. I watched in horror as fellow doctors became automatons and mindlessly parroted slogans of the globalist pandemic narrative. Little do they know, they are cheering on a system that is preparing to wipe out most of their jobs completely. Number 9. Being able to follow the Hippocratic Oath. The public have been led to believe that doctors are obliged to adhere to strict ethical principles in all matters related to medicine. This is a cruel illusion perpetuated by the system to cover up its true nature. You can watch my video, The Healthcare System Hoax, for clear overall evidence that the medical system is not safe and effective, but rather dangerous and ineffective. So how is this claimed to be ethical? While it is true that a doctor's training involves tuition and medical ethics, for most of them the principles will be set aside as soon as they start work. The famous Hippocratic phrase, primum non nocere, or first do no harm, is a classic example. Exemplified during the COVID-19 era, most doctors went along with lockdowns, face masks and vaccines. The damage to our communities was horrific, but the medical professionals going along with it continued to get paid. In fact, some profiteered handsomely on the back of fraudulent PCR tests and vaccines. Naturally, money trumps ethics in the medico-pharmaceutical empire. Number 10. Finding the right people. Doctors tend to hang around with other doctors, which can enhance the echo chamber of dogma and validation. There are very few creative or critically thinking doctors in the system because the system demands compliance above everything else. Additionally, those outside the medical ranks are often looked down upon as not being knowledgeable or able to participate in the discussions. At the start of 2020, my first public videos were based solely on my existing knowledge of medicine. I received a quick awakening when the first comments came in saying that I was getting some things wrong. The initial shock of being questioned as a fully trained doctor was soon replaced by amazement that I had indeed been misled. From that time on, I discovered that the real critical thinkers in health are not only doctors who depart the system, but also so-called lay people who educate themselves in these vital matters. So how do we go forward from this failed model? Most important is the realization that you are responsible for the health of yourself and your family. It is a fatal mistake to outsource your health to a medical system trapped in an allopathic dogma that has been engineered to serve itself and vested interests. This is not to say the people working in the system are inherently bad. Most simply do not know what they are doing or who is pulling the strings. I'm also not dismissing all medical interventions as bad. There are mainstream surgeons and physicians that truly save lives and limbs. However, this is usually in an acute setting. When it comes to chronic problems, the system is almost invariably useless, if not harmful, as it seeks to manage disease rather than restore full health. It can feel overwhelming, but we also live in a hopeful time as more people than ever are awakening to a new health paradigm. It is not really new, of course, but a new appreciation of our birthright. Taking this unexpected path in 2020 was one of the most joyous things I have ever done, and I hope you will continue to be part of this journey. You can find out all about it through the extensive and free health resources we have created at drsambailey.com. There are going to be some heart searchings when the public perceives the enormities that have been and are being perpetuated in the name of surgery and medicine. Avoidable, mutilating, and futile operations, disgusting and disease-producing vaccines and sera, expensive and deadly drugs, which often fail even to modify symptoms, and certainly never, under any circumstances, have any beneficial effect upon causes. While nature, God, through his natural law, has made provision in perfect and merciful simplicity for both prevention and cure. Dr. Ulrich Williams, Terrain Therapy. If you enjoyed this video, please visit supportdrsam.com